to our next guest who struggled to have a particular talk with his kids. In particular, struggled to explain the meaning behind the Black Lives Matter movement to his children following the death of George Floyd.
Yes, so he took matters into his own hands and he wrote a children's book called The Ellises The Time Machine. Why do we have to say Black Lives Matter? To help guide those discussions with his sons. Here to tell us more is the author himself, former NFL star turned actor Devale Ellis. Thank you so much for being with us. And can you take us back to that moment when you decided that you needed to write this book?
Yeah, it was last year during the height of the racial tension after the deaths of Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, and George Floyd. My oldest son, Jackson, asked me, "Dad, why do we have to say Black Lives Matter?" And it was at that point that I realized that he didn't understand the context of the history in this country. And he didn't understand it because Black history is not considered American history in this country, which is why we have a Black History Month. So at the time, I hadn't planned on having a talk with him until he was emotionally mature enough to handle the subject matter, because he's only 9. And at the time, he was only 8. But I felt like it would be irresponsible for me to kind of avoid this conversation any longer. And I decided to have the talk with him.
Devale, there have been debates in this country and people critical of the Black Lives Matter movement because they they think that Black lives are being singled out in some way as more important. We should say these lives matter, these lives matter. You talk about the talk with your child, but do you think there are some grown folks in this country who could take this talk as well to explain what Black Lives Matter really means?
Oh, no, absolutely. And I mean, to me, there really isn't any confusion. You know, when you say Black Lives Matter, it is singling out Black lives because Black lives have been singled out as less than since this country's inception. You know, for example, if you come to a house, if you come to a neighborhood and the house is burning, right? You don't tell the fire department to put water on all of the houses. You tell them to put water on the house that's burning. You know, and the Black community has been under fire in this country for a very long time. So yes, we are singling out Black lives because we wanted to make very clear that Black lives need the same amount of respect as all the other lives that exist in this country. So yes, not only adults, but children. I mean, not only children, but adults as well. And that goes back to my original sentiment that Black history is not considered American history. And if it was considered American history, we wouldn't even be having this conversation because people would understand why it's necessary.
Devale, we do something here called Faith Friday. We bring in faith leaders to give us some inspiration. You should come back on a Friday.
Oh, that's what's up. I mean, anytime you want to have me, I'll come, trust me.
Well, let me ask you one other thing. Yes, football player, former football player. Now you are an actor. You're fully into an acting career. You're actually starring in Tyler Perry's show, Sisters. What's more intimidating? What did you think you had a better handle of? Stepping onto a football field or on a set to record?
Well, it's funny you say that because Tyler Perry actually looks like a football player. He's about 6'6", 240 pounds. So he looks like a defensive end or outside linebacker coming down. But definitely acting because it mattered that much more to me. You know, when I was playing football, it was a means to an end. It was a way for me to build capital to chase my dream. But acting matters so much more to me. And when I think about what it means to act, especially at Tyler Perry Studios, I mean, this is the largest studio in the country. It was once a Confederate Army base, Fort McPherson, now owned by one Black man. There's a huge responsibility that comes with being in that environment. And I take it very seriously. So I would have to say at this point, acting, especially with everything going on in the country.
Devale, thank you so much for joining us. The Ellises and the Time Machine, Why Do We Have to Say Black Lives Matter, is available now. Ellis, please do come back. We appreciate it, Devale.
Oh, no. Thank you so much, Amy. Thank you, TJ, for having me. And if you're interested anymore in finding out about the Ellises, you can also listen to our podcast. It's Dead Sea Bass minus the Seab with Kadeen and Devale. Check us out on iHeartRadio.
That is fantastic. We're going to see you again for sure, my man. Thanks so much.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.